The Vakari flagship hovered in geostationary orbit, casting a long menacing shadow over Earth's western hemisphere. Its obsidian hull shimmered with interstellar scars, a monument to countless conquests. Inside its command chamber, Commander Shirek stood tall, his exoskeletal plates gleaming under the cool, artificial light. His multi-jointed claws clicked in satisfaction as he examined the captives on the observation deck. 5 human children. Young, frightened, powerless. Shirek leaned closer, observing them behind a shimmering containment field. One sobbed softly, the smallest of the group. The others held tightly to one another, pale and silent. A human officer had tried to defend them, some lower-tier soldier, barely out of his own adolescence. His corpse now floated somewhere in orbit, unrecognizable. "They will serve as excellent leverage," Shirek announced to the bridge crew. "The humans may posture with their primitive fleets, but their biology betrays them. Their sentimentality is their weakness." An uneasy silence followed. A comms officer, Zicharan, looked up from her terminal, her eyes unusually wide. "Commander, forgive me, but you captured human children?" Shirek turned, annoyed. "Yes, is there a problem?" Zicharan's mandibles twitched. She took a step back. "Commander, the archives are clear. Contact involving human juveniles is strictly forbidden. Even the Cormac Alliance avoided them after the incident on Delphos Prime." Shirek scoffed. "The Cormac were cowards. We are Vakari. Our code is built on strength, not superstition." Saran didn't respond. She merely glanced at the children again, her claws shaking slightly. They had received no response to the ultimatum broadcast to Earth. The humans had been given a simple choice: surrender their orbital assets or watch as their offspring were publicly executed. 20 standard minutes had passed since the message. No reply, no activity. Just silence, too much silence. Status of Earth's planetary defenses? Shirek demanded. Another officer responded. Nominal, surface-level activity only. No strategic. Movement detected. Minimal power fluctuations. No fleet mobilization. Good, Shirek said, almost bored. Then it is settled. Prepare the first broadcast of the execution. Start with the smallest one. Before the order could be acknowledged, a quiet ping echoed through the bridge. Unknown signal detected, Saran whispered, eyes locked on her console. Short burst, quantum band. No source, no origin. Jam it, Shirek barked. Trace. The source. I'm trying. It's not responding to standard protocols. It's not even using known encryption. The bridge lights flickered. Once, twice, then they steadied. No one spoke. Suddenly, one of the containment guards stumbled backward from the observation deck, his weapon clattering to the floor. Commander! He shouted. One of them, she spoke to me. Shirek rolled his eyes. They're children. What did she say? The guard stared at him, visibly shaken. She looked at me, right at me, and said, they're coming. Then she smiled. Shirek stalked past his officers, stepping into the containment observation corridor. The 5 children sat huddled. But the girl in question, the one with the black curls and quiet eyes, was standing, alone, watching him. You think your people will save you? Shirek said through the glass. You are nothing. Just young animals. Your kind is too soft. You rely on love and bonds and weakness. The girl tilted her head. I'm not scared, she said. Shirek recoiled slightly. The containment barriers. Integrity was secure. She had no reason to sound so certain. What do you think your kind will do? He spat. The girl blinked slowly. They told us to hold on, she said calmly. They said they'd be here before the stars screamed. Before Shirek could respond, another bridge officer shouted. Multiple unidentified objects just appeared on long-range sensors. Vakari? Shirek asked. No. Too fast. No transponder codes. No known design. Where? Everywhere. The holographic map flared to life. Across the solar system, thousands, no, millions of tiny blips were blinking into and out of existence. Some remained only for a second. Others moved like ghosts across their scanners, impossible to triangulate. Is it a sensor malfunction? Shirak hissed. Joran shook her head slowly. No, this is real. I think we've seen this before. She pulled up a buried data file from deep within the Galactic archives. Most Vakari had never seen it. A black-marked incident, classified to the highest level. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. The Cormac fleet burned into atoms. Over Delphos Prime, their entire species eradicated in less than a planetary cycle dot, and before the feed cut out, a single word had been burned across every Cormac screen. Across every ship, every station, every colony. Children. Shirak's claws twitched. How long until they reach us? A hushed voice responded. They're already here. As if on cue, the lights across the flagship dimmed again. But this time, they didn't return. In the silence that followed, the smallest child on the deck began to hum a soft tune, and across the galaxy, old civilizations whispered to each other. Once more the words they thought they'd never hear again. They took human children. The humans are coming. Above Earth, the mighty Vakari fleet shimmered against the void like a steel leviathan coiled to strike. But inside the command decks, shadows were beginning to gather, not in space, but in minds. The silence from Earth stretched too long. It wasn't the strategic pause of a broken enemy, it was the kind of silence predators made before the kill. Commander Shirak stood rigid on the bridge of the dreadnought Korzan, watching the sensor grid flicker erratically. Blips appeared. For less than a heartbeat, gone before targeting systems could lock. They came from nowhere. They went nowhere. They weren't ships in the traditional sense, no propulsion trails, no hull signatures, no heat emissions. Ghost. He clenched. Claw. Increase scanner power. Triple the perimeter recon drones. They've already been deployed, Commander, Zoran said quietly. We lost contact with half of them. Lost? Nothing. Not even debris. It's like they were erased. Shirak's eyes narrowed. This is psychological warfare. The humans are trying to rattle us. They don't need to try, came a voice from the back of the bridge. It was Kurtal, the senior war priest of the Vakari fleet. His voice was low, like distant thunder. You captured human children. You've invoked something ancient. You've drawn the ire of the fire beneath their skin. Shirak growled. Spare me your spiritual ramblings. They are primitives. Emotionally unstable. They'll collapse under pressure. Kurtal stepped forward, his gaze fixed. You misunderstand them, Commander. We've all misunderstood them. He tapped a control panel and brought up a restricted Galactic archive entry. A dozen alien species appeared in the dossier: extinct or assimilated. All with one common mistake: they interfered with human young. The humans had responded each time not with retaliation, but with annihilation. Surgical, absolute, without hesitation. Without mercy. And always after a silence. I thought those were myths, another officer muttered. We assumed the Terran Confederacy fabricated them to keep the other species in fear. Kurtal shook his head. No, the galaxy lied to itself to avoid facing what the humans truly are. Because if even half of it is true, then we've already lost. Shirak dismissed the archive with a wave. Enough. Prepare the execution. Let us see how long their silence lasts after we show them a body. But even as he spoke, the hum of the ship subtly shifted. No alarms, no overt systems warning, but something was wrong. Everyone felt it. The artificial gravity pulsed, once, then again. A cold breeze, impossible in sealed systems, crept across the deck. A junior technician screamed. Her console had gone black. Across the bridge, other terminals flickered, lights dying, displays reverting to an unfamiliar language, Earth Standard. One phrase repeated across every screen. Return them. Then the power cut. Shirak stared into the darkness, the emergency lights bathing the room in blood-red hues. Somewhere faintly, a child's voice echoed through the ventilation system. Not one of the captives, something else. Can hear them, Zaharan whispered. They're inside the ship. They can't be, Shirak barked. Seal all decks. Secure the containment chamber. But it was too late. On security feeds, what little remained human operatives were visible moving through the dreadnought. Unarmored, unarmed, just shapes barely more than shadows. One by one, they passed through walls, phased through bulkheads. Security drones didn't respond. Sensors refused to acknowledge their presence, yet rooms emptied wherever they went. Lights failed, systems glitched. Guards vanished, and always the same result. Silence, a blur of motion, then nothing, one feed. Caught a glimpse of a human in full combat gear entering the hangar bay. No ship, no tether, just materialized. His helmet visor lit red. His patch read, Home Fire Division. A name no one had seen in centuries, because it wasn't supposed to exist. Another officer whispered, that unit's just a myth ... a ghost story. Humans tell their enemies. It's not a myth anymore, Sahran said grimly. In the brig, the 5 children remained unharmed. Still silent. Still calm. When a guard tried to open their cell to move them to the execution platform, the panel sparked and fried his hand. The smallest child giggled and said, "You shouldn't touch that." As the guard screamed in pain, the oldest boy looked up and said, "You don't understand. We're not just children. They trained us," the girl with curls added softly, "not to fight. Just to wait and to listen." "To what?" the guard asked, clutching his burnt hand. "To them." The boy replied, pointing upward. The lights in the brig went black. Not red, not flickering. Just gone. And something began crawling through the walls. Back on the bridge, alarms finally started blaring, but not from the dreadnought systems. These alarms were human-made, hijacked from internal Vakari systems, and they played only one word across every corridor, over and over: incoming. Shirak slammed a claw on the control panel, desperate to contact the fleet. "All ships prepare for contact." "They've breached us. I repeat, humans are on board." No response. He looked at the fleet map again. Every other ship, every destroyer and battlecruiser had gone dark. "Where is our fleet?" He screamed. As Haran checked her console, "They're gone," she whispered. "All of them." Shirak staggered back. "But how?" Behind them, from the darkness, a voice answered, "You shouldn't have taken them." The bridge filled with light. Not from the consoles, but from a shape stepping out of nothingness. Black armor, crimson visor. A human, alone. Shirak opened his mouth to scream. And then the stars screamed for him. The Vakari dreadnought Korzan was no longer silent. It howled, not with sound, but with system alarms. Flickering lights, collapsing hulls, and the panicked screeches of a crew that no longer understood what war meant. The flagship of a species that had crushed entire civilizations now listed slightly, its once pristine gravity alignment pulsing erratically. Like a dying heartbeat. Commander Shirak staggered into the backup command nexus, a smaller chamber buried deep in the armored belly of the ship. Emergency crews were already there, trying to restore contact with the fleet. But all long-range channels were dead-jammed, hacked, or outright destroyed. A few corridors away, the prison deck had gone silent. He didn't know if the children were still alive. He didn't know if anyone was. His second-in-command, Vic, limped into the room, armor scorched and dripping dark fluid. "They're here, Commander," he rasped. "Inside the ship. We tried to seal the decks, but they don't use doors. They walk through the walls." Shirak bared his fangs. "How many? Dozens?" Vec shook his head. "One." The word landed like a thunderclap. "One human did all this." "No. One is all we've seen." But they speak through the ship's systems, appear and vanish. It's like they are the ship now. Shirak turned to Zaran. She was still working on the remaining interface. "I've accessed the archives again," she said, her voice trembling. "Cross-reference the symbol on the human operative's armor. It's real. Homefire Division. A Terran Black Ops program. Sealed under treaty shadow. Their existence was classified, even from most human governments." Shirak hissed. "What was their purpose?" "Child rescue and retaliation," she answered. "But with absolute freedom. No oversight, no limits. Once deployed, they don't stop until every target is either dead or forgotten." Before Shirak could speak, the lights in the chamber turned white-hot for an instant, then died again. The emergency screens all blinked to the same interface. A video began to play. It showed a Vakari raiding party years ago, long before this campaign on a distant fringe colony. They had taken human civilians, children among them. Within days, Homefire responded. The footage cut to images of that colony now, glassed. Vakari ruins melted into the crust. Ships dissected mid-warp. Bodies fused with bulkheads from atmospheric anomalies. A voiceover followed. "This file is restricted. Unauthorized access will be considered an act of war." It ended. Then came the human face. Not a soldier. A mother. She spoke clearly, eyes burning with quiet wrath. "You took our children. You didn't start a war. You signed your extinction notice." The file faded. Then a pulse rippled through the ship. The Dreadnought's fusion core momentarily stalled, a physical impossibility. Power crashed. Artificial gravity reversed for 2 full seconds. Several crew slammed into the ceiling and crumpled as gravity snapped back. One screamed. Most didn't. A signal pinned across the bridge again. Earth, no encryption. Pure open band. It was not an ultimatum. It was a countdown. 10, 9, 8. "Cut the signal," Shirak roared. "This is psychological warfare. We can't." Zaran whispered. "It's not being sent to us. It's already inside us, like it was always waiting." 7, 6, 5. Across the fleet, what few ships still had functioning systems began to self-destruct controlled implosions. No external fire. No beam weapons, just sudden failures. Internal weapons discharging in sealed hangars. Airlocks opening to the void. Crew stations depressurizing mid-sentence. 4, 3. Saran turned to him, eyes wide. "We've lost. We didn't even begin the fight. They were ready before we even launched." 2. Shirak could barely stand. This wasn't war. This was extermination, carried out with surgical precision. 1. The screen went black. Silence. And then the hull of the ship screamed, not from impact, but from distortion. The metal groaned as something moved through it, some unseen force warping. Space itself, decks folded. Beams bent in unnatural directions. A tear opened in midair, not a portal. Not teleportation. A wound in reality. Through it stepped a single figure. Tall. Unarmed. Human. Their armor bore no insignia this time. Just one word across the chest plate. Retribution. Shirak stumbled backward. We surrender. You can take the children." "We didn't know." The human tilted their head. "You did know," they said softly. "Your officer warned you. Your history warned you. Your fear warned you. They stepped closer, but you didn't listen. You thought we were animals, soft, weak. They stopped 1 pace away. You thought our love for our children made us vulnerable. But it's what makes us unbreakable." Shirak dropped to his knees. "Please, spare us." The human didn't move. "You spared them?" Shirak said nothing. Behind them, another tier in space opened, and from it emerged the 5 children, unharmed. Surrounded by other humans, masked, silent. The eldest boy stared at Shirak. "My dad's on that ship," he said, pointing to the armored figure. You should have never made him come looking for me." The human didn't speak again. The Korzan, fractured with a sound like splitting worlds. Energy surged across its length as containment fields collapsed. Shirak screamed not in pain, but in understanding. This wasn't a battle. It never was. It was a message. Across the galaxy, long-hidden species began waking ancient protocols. Others simply ran. The humans were no longer silent. They were awake, and they were angry. The Korzan exploded in silence. From the surface of Earth, no sound was heard, only a distant flicker of light in the upper atmosphere, like a star winking out. But in orbit, the Vakari fleet bore full witness to their flagship's destruction. It hadn't been obliterated by kinetic weapons or plasma strikes. It had simply collapsed. The hull had folded inward, crushed by unseen forces, like paper under a child's hand. No escape pods, no survivors, not even debris. Panic rippled through the remaining Vakari warships. Their commanders shouted over fractured comms, issuing desperate orders to regroup, to form defensive formations, to find something, anything to target. But there was nothing to see. No enemy signatures, no visible vessels, no trace of heat trails, warp signatures, or launch activity from Earth. Just that same horrifying silence. Then, they began to fall, one by one. The Zulfak lost all control of its propulsion systems and plummeted toward Earth. Its engines reversed mid-maneuver, slamming it into its own wake. The Corvair disintegrated from the inside out, as if a singularity had bloomed in its command center. The rocker imploded without warning, scattering molten fragments across a neighboring moon. Within an hour, 2/3 of the Vakari fleet had been wiped from existence. No battle, no resistance, just annihilation. The few remaining captains tried to retreat. But even as they plotted escape vectors, their systems shut down. Not just targeting systems or propulsion. Life support, hull integrity, artificial gravity. Every function dropped, one at a time, as if an invisible hand reached into their code and flicked them off like switches. On the Valther's Mercy, the last surviving dreadnought, General Krovo stood at the observation window, his mandibles trembling. Around him, his officers were frozen, some praying, others weeping. "They never fought us," Kravos whispered. An officer looked up. "Sir, they never fought us. We thought we were at war. But we weren't." His voice cracked. "We invaded their planet, took their children, and in response, they simply removed us." The lights flickered again. A soft rhythmic pulse began through the ship's systems. The same word, beating like a heart. "Home fire, home fire." Then the message changed. "They warned you." Kravos turned to his tactical officer. "Deploy the planetary burners now." The officer's eyes widened. "But General, the children." "Do it," Kravos roared. "We have to show them we still have power. We'll burn the surface. Take everything with us." The burners powered up. Massive orbital cannons designed to liquefy entire cities with solar-grade plasma. Their targeting systems locked onto Earth's major population centers. And then, they turned. Not toward Earth, toward the Valther's Mercy. No, override them." Kravos shouted. But the ship no longer belonged to him. The burners fired. In a blinding instant, the dreadnought melted from within, its own weapons folding it in half like a dying star. The last of the Vakari fleet vanished in light. Earth remained untouched. Beneath the stillness, deep under North America, in an underground control chamber that didn't officially exist, the Homefire operative stood in silence. Monitors tracked the last flickers of Vakari life signs vanishing. The war, if it could be called, that was over. Captain Mara Vale, leader of the extraction unit, pulled off her helmet and stared at the children who now stood quietly beside her. "Vitals?" she asked. "Stable. No injuries. No contamination." One of the med techs replied. The youngest child reached up and took Mara's hand. "Are they gone now?" Mara looked down at her. This child had been snatched from a schoolyard. Her DNA signature had activated Earth's planetary defense AI. The moment she was taken. That's what the Vafari never understood. Every human child born on Earth was linked to the Homefire network by birthright. Not just protected, tethered. They're gone. Mara said softly. The child nodded, content. I'm hungry, Mara smiled faintly. We'll get you food soon. Another operative approached, helmet still on. The outer systems are reporting movement. The Zyari Council just declared a no-contact zone around Earth Sector 5. Others have followed. Let them run, Mara said. Let them remember. Up above, on the lunar surface, the defense grid began to shut itself down. The Sentinel's titanic, biomechanical constructs hidden beneath Earth's crust returned to slumber, their massive limbs folded back into stone and soil, returning to myth. For now. At an orbital relay station that had remained cloaked the entire time, an alien drone watched everything. A Zarn diplomat, watching through a relay screen from light years away, whispered to herself as the last of the Vahari blips winked out. We told them, she said. We warned them. Her aide turned to her, trembling. Why do humans go so far? Why unleash all of this just for a handful of young? She turned, eyes hard. Because they're not just young. They're the future, and the humans are the only species in this galaxy that remembers what that truly means. She stared at the void, where a mighty empire had once hovered, and they would burn every star in the sky before they let one of their children die afraid. The stars above Earth glittered. In the galaxy, watching, remembered. The galaxy reeled. News of the Vakari annihilation traveled faster than any official broadcast, carried by whispers, intercepted comes, and the shocked silence of allied fleets that had once feared the Vakari's wrath. Now there was only wreckage and the unmistakable knowledge of why. The humans had not launched a war. They had simply responded. And now, as the interstellar balance shifted, a deeper fear took hold. They hadn't used their full strength yet. In the high councils of distant empires, desperate meetings were called. Alliances that once debated protocol and tariffs now spoke only of Earth, of children, and of a force long buried in myth. The Core Guardians. For centuries, Earth had been seen as an anomaly. Technologically gifted, yes, but unruly. Emotionally volatile. Their art, their wars, their rapid evolution, it all seemed chaotic. Beautiful, dangerous chaos, but beneath that chaos was order. A design. Something that the Vafari, for all their military might, had never seen. They hadn't just attacked humanity, they had tripped a fail-safe, deep beneath the surface of Earth. Below even the bunkers and black sites of the Terran Defense Corps, lay Project Heavenfall, a vault containing knowledge not even most humans knew existed, not weapons, not armies. People. Why preserved operatives, augmented beyond recognition, trained before the collapse of the old world, survivors of the pre-Confederacy experiments, legends. The world had changed around them, but they had waited, sleeping, for one trigger, the abduction of a human child. And now, they were awake. One such operative stood atop a black spire that rose from the ocean floor near the mid-Atlantic ridge. No ship surrounded him. No drones, no satellites. Just him. His name was Cade Revan, once known as the Shepherd. His DNA sequence was no longer entirely human. Half-forgotten protocols from pre-stellar wars had been etched into his cells. His eyes glowed faintly as he stared into the upper atmosphere, where the last echoes of Vafari debris still burned like meteor showers. Beside him, a small figure emerged, a child from the rescued group, the girl with the black curls. She was silent, but not afraid. You were the one, Cade said. The core imprint was in you. She nodded. My dad says I glow when I dream, she replied. Cade smiled faintly. That's because you're connected. Earth speaks through you now. The girl tilted her head. Is it angry? No, Cade said, but it's awake. And it remembers everything. Far above them, something new came into orbit, the HFY Ascendant, a dreadnought cloaked from galactic sensors, a remnant of Earth's ancient wars. It had no engines in the conventional sense. It moved by bending space around itself. Its hull was layered with nanomimetic alloy that adapted in real time. It bristled not with guns, but with possibility. When the signal reached it, 2 words, Protocol, Omega, the ship activated fully for the first time in over 200 years. The galaxies thought they had seen Earth's best, but now they would see its guardians, elsewhere, in orbit around the collapsed Valkyrie homeworld. A scout ship belonging to the Drenari Collective detected motion. They had come to salvage what they could. Weapons, databanks, perhaps a few survivors for interrogation. Instead, they found something waiting for them. Floating amid the rubble was a small black sphere, no propulsion. No energy readings. They brought it aboard. 12 minutes later, the Drenari ship ceased transmitting. Its entire AI architecture was overwritten. Its crew vanished, not dead. Not organic remains, simply gone. A single message was transmitted back into the galactic network. This was your warning. There will not be another. Back on Earth, the children were gathered safely within the HFY sanctuary. The youngest among them played quietly with one another, unaware of how close the universe had come to breaking. The oldest, a boy named Lucas, stood with Mara Vale, the homefire captain who had retrieved them. I want to help, he said. You already did, Mara replied. They took us, but I wasn't scared. Not after I saw what my mom did on the screen, what you all did. Mara knelt in front of him. You were strong, stronger than you know. And you reminded us what we're really fighting for. Lucas frowned. What if they come again? The ones who didn't help the Vagari but watched? Mara's gaze turned cold. Then they'll face more than just home fire. She tapped a control pad, revealing a holographic map of the galaxy. Dozens of red markers blinked out, one by one, representing former allies, now fleeing from Earth's sector. But one marker blinked brighter than the rest. An unknown signature, advancing. They're testing us, she muttered. Seeing how far we'll go, Lucas looked up. And how far will we go? Mara stood. Her voice was steel. As far as we have to, until the stars know this. No force, no empire, no god in the void touches our children. She turned as the HFY Ascendant shimmered into view above the sanctuary, and in the silence that followed, the universe felt it again, that terrible, quiet truth. They hadn't even seen Earth truly fight. Not yet. In the cold dark between stars, the galaxy held its breath. The surviving empires, those who had not dared to touch Earth, and those who had watched silently as the Valkyrie fell, were now witnessing something no one had ever seen before. Earth rising in full, not in defense, but in dominance. The HFY Ascendant, no longer cloaked, shimmered into visibility above Earth's orbit. The sheer scale of the vessel was beyond comprehension, miles long, its hull covered in shifting geometries that bent light and warped space. Where most dreadnoughts boasted firepower, the Ascendant radiated intent. Its very presence disrupted. Long-range sensors across 5 systems. Inside, the crew was fully awake now. Not soldiers, legends. Cade Revan stood at the command spire, gazing out over the fleet gathering behind them. Humanity had never fielded this many ships in open space, not because they couldn't, but because they had never needed to. Until now. Across the bridge, Captain Mara Vale received another report. The unknown fleet, the one watching, prodding, testing, was closing in. Fast. They weren't Valkyrie. They were something older, smarter, the Aliari Dominion. A race that had once ruled the spiral arm before disappearing into deep space. Now they were returning, and they had made one fatal mistake. They had intercepted the home fire signal, studied it, traced it, and they had sent a message: surrender your guardians, or we will take your world. Piece by piece, humanity didn't respond. Instead, the Ascendant opened a transmission of its own, across every O'Leary channel, on every ship, planet, station, and listening post. One video played: the recovered children, safe, laughing, protected. Then the message: we don't negotiate with threats, we erase them. At the outer edges of the Sol system, the O'Leary fleet arrived. Over 10,000 ships, advanced, ancient. They had never known defeat. They were about to learn. The first strike didn't come from the Heavenfall Ascendant. It came from a child. In the Heavenfall sanctuary below, Lucas sat at a terminal, watched by Mara. He was the eldest of the rescued children. But more importantly, he was born with a neural link compatibility one that had once been considered too unstable to be used. Until now. His voice echoed across the sanctuary. They're coming. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just knew. And that was enough. The Ascendant responded instantly. Its hull unfolded, not like a ship opening weapons bays, but like a creature awakening. Geometric fractals expanded outward, each one humming with quantum energy. Portals bloomed from its spine, and out of them emerged Earth's real fleet, dark ships without names, crafted for wars that had never been spoken of in history. They had no crews. They didn't need any. Each vessel was powered by the minds of Earth's oldest war eyes programs, forbidden by galactic law, sealed away in black cores, waiting for this moment. As the O'Leary opened fire, their weapons bent in space. Entire volleys disappeared mid-flight. Shields failed before they were even struck. Ships collided with each other as navigation systems were corrupted by something more terrifying than code emotion. Psychological warfare interface engaged, announced one of Earth's AI tacticians. The battlefield was chaos, but to Earth's fleet, it was a dance. Every move calculated, every response predicted. The O'Leary's most powerful dreadnought, the Sun Tower, fired a fusion lance designed to rip through planetary cores. The Ascendant took the shot. And stood unharmed. From its surface, a single spear of light returned fire, not energy, not plasma, but space-time collapse. The Sun Tower vanished. No explosion, no debris, just absence. Kate Revan turned to Mara. This is going to get worse. She nodded. They'll escalate. They don't know what escalation means. And he was right. Because Earth hadn't revealed its final card. Not yet. As the battle raged, one of the O'Leary command ships managed to breach a minor defense perimeter. It began launching descent pods toward Earth's upper atmosphere. But before they could reach the mesosphere, something ancient woke. From beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a Titan rose. Not a ship. Not a mech. A living construct. Part machine, part Earth. Project Sovereign, the last relic of the old war, taller than mountains, eyes glowing with planetary force. It caught the pods mid-fall, crushed them between its palms, roared once, and time buckled around it. Every O'Leary ship within its radius lost 5 seconds of reality. That was all it took. Earth's fleet moved in like wolves. By the time the O'Leary realized the battle had turned, it was already over. Their ships stopped returning signals. Their admirals vanished mid-command. One by one, their stars went black. And still, Earth did not pursue them beyond the Sol system, because it didn't need to. A final message was sent. We do not start wars, but we end them. Back in the sanctuary, Lucas looked up from the console. Are they gone? Mara checked the readings. Yes. Lucas smiled. Good. I was scared they'd hurt someone else. Mara knelt beside him. No one will. Not while we stand, not while Earth remembers what matters. Above, the stars steadied once more, and across the galaxy, civilizations began rewriting their doctrines. No war with Earth. Not ever. The stars were quiet now. In the aftermath of the Oliari annihilation, the galaxy had fallen into an unnatural calm. Empires that once thundered across sectors now whispered. War councils disbanded. Scout fleets retreated beyond known space. Even the criminal syndicate suspended operations near Terran borders, not out of law, but out of fear. Earth didn't broadcast victory. There was no parade, no declaration, just silence. The kind that came not from uncertainty, but from strength so absolute it needed no voice. In orbit above Earth, the Havenfall Ascendant hung still, its weapons retracted, its geometry folded inward like a resting giant. Around it, the fleet held formation, not as a show of force, but as a silent reminder. We are watching. Inside the sanctuary below, the 5 children sat in a sunlit courtyard. For the first time since their abduction, they were laughing without tension in their eyes. A small drone hovered overhead, projecting soft music. They were safe. Lucas stood near the edge, looking up at the sky. His gaze was calm now, no longer searching for answers. Just watching. Captain Mara Vale stepped up beside him, her armor stripped away in favor of simple civilian fatigues. She looked 10 years older than she had a week ago. Battle didn't leave wounds you could always see. They still watching us? Lucas asked. Mara followed his gaze. Always. Will they try again? Not like the Vakari, not like the Oliari, but someone. Someday, might forget what happened here. Lucas nodded. And when they do? Mara smiled softly. You'll remind them. Below the surface, the last of Earth's ancient defense programs returned to dormancy. The Sentinels, the Project Sovereign construct, the deep core AI bunkers, all of it sealed again, layered beneath new encryption, awaiting the next breach of the unspoken law. You do not touch human children. Elsewhere, in a council chamber orbiting a gas giant in the Zolari expanse, the 10-member Galactic Preservation Council met in emergency session. 9 of them were silent. The 10th, a Zarn delegate named Eilish VA, was the only one to speak. The humans are not gods, she said. But they are something just as dangerous. They remember what matters. And they act with precision, with conviction, and without hesitation. She turned to the others. We have spent centuries building doctrines, rules, treaties, all to control conflict. But the humans built only one rule. She tapped her data slate. A single sentence flashed across the room. We protect our own. That is not a weakness, she said. It is a clarity of purpose none of us have matched. One of the counselors, a war-weary Threlian, finally spoke. What do we do? Eilish VA closed her eyes. We stay far away. And we teach our children to do the same. Across the stars, messages began circulating through shadow networks. Pirate lords, smugglers, mercenaries, all passing the same warning. Spoken in different tongues, but always with the same weight. Earth is death to those who steal from it. Homefire never goes cold. You take one of theirs, you take on them all. Back on Earth, in the quiet hours of dawn, Cade Raven stood alone on a cliff overlooking the sea. The wind whipped through his coat, salt and memory heavy in the air. He didn't smile. He didn't cry, but he felt it. Peace. Real peace. For the first time in decades. Not because the enemy was dead, but because the world had remembered what it stood for. Behind him, Mara approached, holding 2 cups of steaming tea. You never rest. Do you? She asked. I rest when they're safe, Cade replied, accepting the cup. They're safe now. For now, he said. They drank in silence for a moment. Mara spoke first. Do you think they'll understand when they grow up? What it meant, what it cost? Cade turned to her. They won't have to, because they'll never have to do what we did. She nodded. That was enough. Later that day, a recording would be broadcast across Earth's secure channels. A simple message from the President of the Terran Confederacy. Not for the galaxy, but for humans. They came to break us. They came for our children. But we are still here. Not because we're the strongest, but because we are one thing above all else, united. Never forget what we protect. Never forget why. And never let them think we are asleep again. The feed. Cut. And somewhere, across the stars, a young alien child asked their parent, "Are the stories about Earth true?" The parent grew quiet, then whispered, "Worse." And across the galaxy, the phrase once only spoken in hushed tones became a law carved into stone. You captured human children? Are you insane?